Well, Snakes on a Plane has competition as one of the most ridiculous and stupid concepts for a film. Because there's now a movie called The End of Oak Street, and it's about dinosaurs in our white suburbs. And if you thought this film was entertaining, you either use 2% of your brain or you're on an experimental type of drug. I mean, come on. You people didn't like The Ice Cream Man, Supergirl, and Scream 7? But this load of trash got positive reviews? As for Scream 7 and Supergirl, we'll possibly discuss those in future videos. I will say that I don't think either one are particularly great films. I just think that the backlash and criticism was a little over the top. And look, I'll be the black sheep of the movie review world here. If you guys want to criticize the critic, go right for it. But this movie was trash for several reasons. I'm gonna go ahead and give spoilers to this film because I don't want anyone to go see it.
Our house, our neighborhood, our whole street has moved.
I say it plain, if it hits my chest, I say that name. Cinema, I call it how I see. Cinema, no faking for the fee. Cinema.
Now, I unfortunately had to watch the previews of The End of Oak Street a few times leading up to this viewing. And to be perfectly honest, I went in with a somewhat negative attitude. I had already had a opinion that it was going to suck. However, in my defense, this has happened previously with other films, and I ended up loving the film that I thought I would hate, and vice versa. But this time I was 100% right. In fact, it was worse than what I expected. So the film starts off where it showcases a suburb town that suspiciously looks a lot like the same town from The Ice Cream Man. It seems like all the neighbors are friends and everything is happy. It's kind of just, I guess, setting the mood that this is a very peaceful place before the storm begins and chaos starts. Next, it shows the son of the main family, Brian, riding his bike with a few of his friends through town. They stop and begin to peek through the fence at a new girl who is just moving in town. They then start riding the bike more and they start talking, and a few of his friends start bringing up that there's a older kid. I can't even remember his freaking name, who is trying to fight Brian. He wants to kick Brian's ass because Brian broke his brother's arm. It then switches to the mom, who is coming home and walking up her driveway when she is approached by her neighbor, who is extremely confrontational and seems to be upset and is yelling at her about the dog Starbucks, who is always coming in his yard at night and keeping him up and making noises and digging holes. At first, he's very kind about it and apologetic, but this neighbor goes on and complains and becomes a Karen and says a horrific remark about shooting her dog the next time he comes in her yard. So she assertively and rightfully so stands up for herself and says something. She also made a comment about, my husband wouldn't say this to you, so I'm going to say it. And then she threatens him back. Can't recall exactly what she said, but that's an important line about her husband wouldn't say it because of future events that takes place. So before I go on telling this movie scene by scene, which I don't intend on doing, I'm just going to kind of pinpoint certain parts of the film. Let me explain a little bit about what stood out to me and what parts I really didn't like and why I did get angry a few times during this movie and considered walking out, but I stayed with it and decided to complete the film knowing that I have this channel to do reviews with kind of motivated me a little bit. First thing first, the characters are horrible. They all suck, especially the dad and the son. But even the mom and the daughter, I didn't particularly like. The daughter's very one-dimensional. They really didn't even give her an appropriate setup. You don't really even see any character development out of her. The dad is a complete softy punk. Numerous times witness how much of a pansy he is. Early on, I think it's actually like the next scene, the neighbor bangs on the door early morning. They all come out and he has it's kind of comical, but not really. It got like a chuckle out of me, but you see a giant load of feces in his front yard, a ridiculous amount, and he's openly blaming the boy and the wife and yelling at them. And the father, whose name is Gregory, calmly suggests that he'll help him to clean it up. And he grabs a shovel and starts putting it in the wheelbarrow. He said, "I don't think they did it, but we're sorry. We'll help you." I mean, that's what the fuck. I mean, you say no, say we didn't do that. Stand up for yourself. This guy is too nice. Like right off the bat, I despised him for that. Now, in the defense, later on in the film, some of this is explained, and I'm not 100% certain, but I'm leaning towards the likely possibility that it was done deliberate. They wanted him to be overly nice, and they knew people wouldn't like it. Which I'm telling you out, I do see that as a possibility, but it still ruined the film for me for half the movie. And because and I'm being discreet right now because there's a spoiler that I don't want to disclose yet. I will be telling it in a minute, but they almost ended up justifying it. They ended up kind of redeeming themselves from making him a douchebag. And I thought, like, when this happened, I'm like, okay, that's good. That's why they did it. But then they dropped the ball on that. On top of being the softy, he's also dumb too. He's not even a smart softy, like, which normally is a combination that happens a lot, and it kind of helps to balance it out, if the guy was like super intelligent. But throughout the film, even during the most critical times when the dinosaurs was invading, he gave no amount of assistance when everybody else was planning out survivor techniques and they was asking for his help. He was just oblivious. He was really like, I don't know. I think we should just stay here. And I'm actually not fully exaggerating with that. He made some of those same facial expressions. So let's pick up where we left off. It's the middle of the next night, and a storm starts. And it starts off with this giant bright light, and then all the power goes out. And Brian wakes up and he starts to find everybody, and they're all like panicking. And this is a part that really annoyed me. And this is beginning of the film. This is like the first 10, maybe more than that. There's like the first 15 minutes of the film, 15, 20 minutes maybe into the film. They're talking about a power shortage like it's an apocalyptic event. Now, mere coincidence it actually was, but they hadn't known that at this time. All they knew is that the power went out and it was raining, and they was like getting. I mean, I understand to some degree it's relatable. I get it. When the power goes out, you don't really know how long it's going to go out for. It could be a few-day blackout. You do need to get supplies, but this was off the chain. The way they was reacting, they was definitely blowing it out of proportion. They was talking about like it was nothing. It's like you could have just went back to sleep. Like, I was thinking in my head. And then they started obsessing about the refrigerator and the food, the mom. specifically was okay. Again, food does go bad during this time, but I feel like they put in there too much. And they actually end up being a ongoing reference. There was a few other references to milk. Like you would have thought milk was the most important thing in this film. There was several times throughout this film where they was concerned about the milk over their lives. And then the dad, Gregory, hears some noises coming from outside. And okay, he heard noises, but it was like it was the dinosaurs, of course, but we know that as the viewers, but they didn't know that yet. But it could have been something as simple like just an animal or something. It wasn't like right in the backyard. It wasn't a human. I feel like there wasn't any reason for him to even go out and look. And he brings a baseball bat. He's also wearing his freaking whitey tighties too, which I guess is kind of appropriate for his personality. And he starts roaming around the neighborhood, and this is where we first get our first look at the Jurassic and Park wannabe dinosaurs in this film. And this was so laughable at this part. And I hate and despise people who laugh at films that are not supposed to be funny, like a horror film and the characters getting murder and it's like some shocking emotional moment and those people in the back making a joke laughing about it. It pisses me off, but I had to hold this back. I tried to compose myself to respect the people around me, and I didn't, but I chuckled a little bit. um so I was actually angry at this point because I had already not been enjoying the film. This part made me laugh, but it made me laugh at something that I wasn't supposed to be laughing at. When he takes too long, Denise goes out too, and she brings a full shotgun with her, and they both end up encountering a dinosaur for the first time. And of course, Denise has to save her pansy husband from a dinosaur. And look, I'm all for heroic females and even wimpy guys in films. Wouldn't bother me that much. It was just the dynamic of a husband and wife. I'm sorry, maybe I'm old school. I don't think a father should be showcased as that much of a chump. I mean, if they had been like a group of college kids or something, and there was one kid that was like that, it wouldn't bother me. I would be fine with that, you know? Not everyone is aggressive and assertive. I'm not the most freaking badass guy ever. But at the same time, you can't be a complete freaking wuss, especially when you got to stand up for your family. So that was the part that I really disliked about his character. So the wife has to save him. They go running. The dinosaurs are seen all around now. They're killing people in the neighborhood. They manage to make it back to the house, and then this is where they start boarding up the house and hiding in the house from these dinosaurs. And if there was anyone in this film who was more of a coward than Greg, it was Brian. And I guess that's not surprising because, you know, his only role model is a pansy. But he cried throughout the whole film. Now, okay, look, I understand the situation that is going on. It's a extremely traumatizing situation, right? But for God's sakes, kid, I mean, no, you gotta man up. You gotta toughen up. He was crying throughout the whole film, and I mean, like newborn crying. Like, and okay, everybody technically had the moment in this film, but he was without a doubt the worst. And there was several different times that he had to get saved by people. And when I say crying, I mean this kid was hysterical throughout the movie, throughout the whole freaking film. Now, beyond how terrible these characters are, there was no additional redeeming factors. There was a horrible script. The acting was decent, I suppose, for what they had to present. I mean, the plot was stupid to begin with, but at the same time, it is unique. I have said it previously. I like unique films. This is what we asked for. We can't complain about that. A lot of people was mad about Ice Cream Man having a silly plot. That was a great movie. Same thing with this. I think this actually had potential to be good. And I think dinosaurs should be used more in films. I think we should find a way to make a cool dinosaur movie, but this was definitely not it. So the plot was uh, done poorly. The acting was mediocre. They had horrible characters, and it also was just very corny. It was cheesy. It came off very very campy and not in a good slasher film type of way. Give them props for that. So this film gets a 5. If you guys are wondering why I have been so positive with films lately, well, they've been good. Don't worry, some more negative reviews will come in the future. I mean, hope. Why the hell did I say that? I fucking jinxed it. No, honestly, the last 2 films have been bad since I said that, and I mean, not doing this purposely. I mean, I wish I could give positive reviews. I wish I had loved these last 2 movies, but I didn't. It is what it is. All right, moving on. So Brian notices that Starbucks, the dog, is not in the house. They look for him in the backyard. He's not there. So unfortunately, he ran away. And it's a few days later now, skips ahead. He sees him in the backyard and he leaves the yard with a bow and arrow to try to find his dog. Look, I love animals. I love dogs. I love cats, but not a smart thing to do in this situation. Maybe if my dog was like right there and I could see him, I don't know. In the heat of the moment, I might, but uh, it just at some point, unfortunately, sacrifices. It just probably wasn't the best decision. The sister, daughter, I can't remember her name, like Andre, something like that. See, like I said, she really doesn't have a memorable role. She plays a smaller part in the film. She doesn't stand out opposed to the other characters. She notices Brian escaping the house and she follows him out to try to protect him. And during this outside search for Starbucks, they come encounter with the neighbor, the girl that Brian was spying on, and she says that her parents have been killed by the dinosaurs. So they take her in, take her under their wing, and they attempt to get back home. There's a situation where, what a surprise, Brian gets attacked by the dinosaurs and they have to save him. There's also another situation where the neighbor is getting attacked and Brian goes to use the bow and arrow on her a few times and misses several times, and the sister just grabs the arrow, walks up and kills the dinosaur, again making him look like a joke. And I'm deliberately leaving a few parts out here and there. I mean, if you still want to watch this film, at least I didn't tell you everything. So they managed to make it back to the house, and next up, there's this giant slug creature who invades the house and almost attacks the mother, but Brian actually managed to hit him this time, though he does it from far away, and it's really more of just a distraction. Um, he hits him with the bow. He doesn't even hit his head, though. The thing is so long that he managed to easily hit a part of his body that's right in front of him, right when coincidentally, his head was about to chomp down on Denise. Then it starts targeting Brian and goes after him, and he turns into the little victim again and screaming and crying with his door shut as the monster is trying to get in, and he has to be saved by mommy again, who takes the knife and starts stabbing this creature until it decides to retreat and go. So they go back out again. I actually can't remember the exact reason why they're back out again, but they go back out again and they end up getting attacked by another giant dinosaur. And this is where I'm going to give you guys a minute. Not that I haven't already been giving spoilers, but there's a big one coming up here. So if you don't want the movie to be ruined for you, as if this film could be ruined for you, I think going to this film and watching it will ruin it for you. But if you don't want to have this one major event that actually had me clap at the part, and I was actually quite satisfied, and it ended up bringing me back into the film. My attention went back to the film, and I started having a more positive reaction to the movie. If you don't want to be told what that is, I'm going to give you a few seconds to leave now. The dad dies. No, yeah, really, he dies. He gets his head fucking chopped off. I clapped. I applaud. I was happy. I'm like, this is it. This is why they did it. It clicked in my head. I'm like, they was doing this on on purpose. It was not just a poorly written film. I mean, it still was poorly written for other reasons and still ridiculous. It would only slightly redeem the film, but he died. I was happy. Also, the way it happened was really cool. First, the dinosaur picks him up and has him swinging by his leg, and then he falls to the ground. I'm like, come on, his fucking leg would be ripped off right now. Then the camera goes up, and his leg is gone. I'm like, oh, okay, that's pretty cool. He doesn't have a leg anymore. Then the dinosaur swops down and bites his head off. He's dead. And I'm like, okay, good. They got that out the way. Before I conclude and get to the ending, there was a few other standout scenes that I wanted to mention. They showed like a comical skit where the mother and the father was roaming around and they walk in on two dinosaurs having sex. And okay, funny, kind of clever. Uh, I'm not an expert with dinosaur movies, but I'm pretty sure in the Jurassic Park films, nothing like that was ever covered. So yeah, I get it. It was funny, but the movie was so bad at that point that it didn't really even amuse me. Um, the mother insists that the dad takes a selfie right in front of it, like, oh, I want to remember this moment. Also, they ended up discovering that the whole town had went through some type of vortex and went back in time, and that's what they was experiencing. They end up finding one of these vortexes, and they are like discussing how to jump through it, and the dad is telling his wife, Denise, jump through it. I want you to. And then Denise says to her husband, Greg, no, honey, I love you. I can't do it. I'm not leaving without you. And it's supposed to be like this, like up romantic, emotional moment, and it's just very unbelievable. Up to that point, I did not believe the chemistry between them. And some actors and actresses, they can make you believe early on in a film that they are really madly in love. There's certain films where they just have that connection and it's believable. There was nothing like this. There was a scene where they was fighting and arguing really loud, and that part I actually did believe. That was some of the best acting out of these two. This is not going to be another big spoiler, but I imagine if you already stuck around this long, speaking of sticking around this long, if you're interested in my reviews and would like to see more, please like, subscribe, and drop a comment down below. But I got another big spoiler here, but if you stuck around this long, I don't think you're going to care, so I'm not going to hesitate to say it. You've probably either seen this disaster film or you're have no interest in doing so, which thumbs up to you, you are in the right. They end up managing to get back to their time. This part I don't understand either, and if I'm wrong here, correct me, but they go back to their time and they end up finding the dad, husband, they find Greg, and that's where the story ends. The issue I have with that is, why is Greg version of himself there, but they are not there? Doesn't make sense. There should have been past versions of themselves there, and they didn't. They failed to explain that. It's a butterfly effect. It's just an error in the film to make this film even worse. And again, if I'm understanding something wrong, please correct me. I apologize. It wouldn't make this film any better, but I'll admit if I'm wrong. I haven't really looked into it myself. As I have stated in the past, I try to stay away from reviews as much as possible until I create my own video. So yeah, so they get back in time. They find Greg. They explain to him what's going to happen, and actually, the dinosaurs do come back, but I guess he uses a payphone, Denise, to call all her neighbors and friends. Who, by the way, everybody died in this film. Everybody who you've seen for like one scene, there was about 3 or 4 characters that you saw in one scene before the dinosaurs arrived, in like the first 12-15 minutes of the film. They all ended up dying. Well, she calls all of them now that she made it back to the past and tells them to like leave, to move away. So and this basically like a mass evacuation. And then you see through news reports and some type of like documentary that was made on the events that government agency, military agency came in and fought against the dinosaurs in the town, because the dinosaurs still came. The vortex still opened up, but nobody was in the town. They all left the town before this event could happen. And yeah, and there you go. Another thing is when they first transported themselves, they ended up in the pool of this black lady who came out screaming at them and calling them crazy. And it was pretty funny. They were sitting there like asking what year it is and if the dinosaurs are here. And she's like, get the, out of my pool, and you guys are nuts. It did, again, it put a slight smile on my face. But overall, this film is getting a 1. Yes, a 1 for me. Sorry if you're a fan. Then again, I'm not. It was terrible. So that's another X marks the review. Hopefully next week we'll break this little pattern I have of bad films. I'll be going to the movies this Wednesday. I head to the movies on Wednesdays and Saturdays, so new videos should be popping up every Sunday and Thursday, but no promises. It could be as late as Friday, could be, Wednesday video, and maybe Monday could be Saturday video, and could be earlier, depending when I go to the film. I could end up doing Wednesday film on Wednesday and Saturday film on Saturday. But either way, you should be getting 2 new movie review films of new released films each week from me, and they would be somewhere between Thursday and Monday.
Watch, I break it down. Keep it real for the whole damn crowd.
Cinema action.
I tell you what's wrong.
Cinema action.
I tell you what's strong.
Cinema action.
I call it like that. One more scene and I know where it's at.
Cinema action.
I tell you what's wrong.
Cinema
X.
action.
I tell you what's strong.
Cinema
X.
action.
I call it like that. One more scene and I know where it's at. I've been through the credits, I've seen the face.